Getting the point is? Did you get the point? It says instance does not have a volume attached at root. So here this classification happens in two bases, guys. The volume can be of root or additional. Root volume means your OS. See, when you selected launch instance, you selected one AMI, correct? Which is nothing but your OS. Now that AMI is actually part of this volume. Your operating system was installed on this volume. So as you detach this volume, right, there is no operating system, so it's not run. Do you get the point? So that's the reason why it's giving the error. So you no longer have an operating system attached at this particular place. That's the reason why it is not working. Now, one more thing to remember. So I was able to detach the volume because the instance is in the stopped state. Same action I'll try to do with some other thing. So you see this server. This is in running mode. In contrast to this one, I'll go to the storage aspect. This one also has its own volume. I'm going to open this particular volume. Now, I'll say detach volume. You can't detach it. Why? Because it's running server, so OS is part of this, so you can't directly go and detach a volume for a running instance. But it's possible if you go and work with respect to what? An instance that is stopped. Now, if I attach it back, again, it starts working. So I can just say actions, attach the volume, for which instance? This one, stopped instance. Now, I'll say SDA1. Now I attached it back. It says in use. Earlier it says, right, so dev SDA1, there was no volume attached, so that's the reason why it was not working. Now let's try the same thing once again. I'll just refresh. Now you see, it successfully started. Reason because you attach the volume back, right? Now this is all about root volume. It's the same concept like your laptops, guys. Apart from your logical C drive, right? Can't you have D drive, E drive, right? The same concept is also available within your AWS. So apart from root volume, like your C drive, you can also attach other volumes, right? So how we can go and attach additional volumes, let's see. And the conditions also important, right? Okay, so the first thing what I'll do, I'll launch one instance for our use. I'll say launch instance. I'll go with Amazon Linux. Configure instance. I'll select something like 1A availability zone. Add storage. Now this is my root volume. Now in this, guys, volumes also have types. There is a classification for volumes. It exactly like your instance types. You remember, better capacity, price will be higher. Same way, in hard drives also you got better hard drives, general purpose, provision and magnetic. Provisions will give you the highest performance. So the cost will also be the highest. Getting the point? So now if you want to see the classification, right, they have directly given you guys, you can just follow this page. EBS volume types. They have given one table structure. You can just look at inside AWS site itself. You see, they have given you the comparison. So in which cases you need to go for general purpose, in which cases you need to go for provisioned IOPS, what is the maximum capacity you are going to get. So they have given you all this particular table structure. You can directly check from this particular thing, guys. EBS volume types. Right? You can do the comparison over there. Right. Now coming to this part. So right now, whatever the volume whatever the instance we are trying to launch with, we are getting some particular volume, that is root volume. Now you can't remove root volume. An instance will definitely have root volume. Without root volume, it's not going to work. But apart from this, you can add additional drives. C drive, that's it. Now this is like D drive, E drive, you can go with the patch. Getting the point is, so you can directly, now you see additional volumes I can delete. It's your choice. If you want them, you can keep them. If you don't want, you can remove them. But the OS drive will be definitely there, which is root volume. Now you got choices, guys. Either at the time of launch only you can add the volume, or let's say after some time you want to go and attach the volume, that is also fine. Getting the point? Now here, okay, let's say first I'll launch the instance so that I can show you some conditions. Now this instance, right, I'll say test. This is in 1A. I need just SSH, that's more than sufficient. Right, yes, this is my instance right now, test 1A instance. And we can see, like I said already, a root volume is getting attached. Right, okay, let it completely get into the running state. Right, now our instance is in the running mode. I'll just connect to this instance. Or I can directly check from here only, guys, right? No problem. I'll directly go to instance connect. Why? Because you already know how to log in with keys and everything. I'm just using instance connect to go with. Right, now I'm inside my test 1A instance. In here, now you want to find the information related to storage. Like we know from here itself, we can check that part. One way is what? You just select your instance, you go to your storage, you'll be able to see your device. Right? Okay. Now here, you got some commands. lsblk, list block devices. Currently, it says in your XVDA, there is a 8 GB storage volume that is attached. You see that 8 GB storage, it is under something called like slash. I hope you remember in Linux, slash means your root directory. So all your files are going to be present in this particular root. The entire system disk is attached over here. Right, yes? Now this is showing me what are the block devices. But like what you say, you want to see how much the storage is consumed, what is the remaining storage available. df-h. This is like disk statistics. Like a lot of temporary file systems, but you can see here, ours is this one. Slash device XVDA 8 GB. In that 1.5 GB is taken by my operating system and the remaining is there for you to use. Right? Now my goal is, apart from this root volume, I want to attach other volume. Now the conditions are important, guys. Whenever you are trying to attach a volume, make sure the instance where you launched it, now only volumes which are there in 1A can be attached to this instance. Are you getting the point, guys? So initially when I said launch instance and I clicked one button called add storage, correct? In the next part, the second volume, if I do that, it will automatically get attached to 1A zone. Fine, no problem. But later point of time, when you want to add a storage, make sure you are launching that in the same zone. So what I'll do, I'll create two volumes now, two additional volumes, one in 1A, one in 1B, and we'll try to see how it goes with. You can come to this page, guys, volumes page. Okay, I'll clear. So there you see, there are like a lot of volumes. Reason because I have created lots of instances there. right? And you see here, guys, I also did some particular changes. If you can see here, sorry, ours is this one, right? Test 1A. You can see 8 GB, which is there in what? 1A. Why? Because our instance is also in 1A. Now I'll say create a volume. I'll not go with big volume. I'll say just like 5 GB is good enough for me to test the functionality. This one I'm launching it in 1A. Additional 1A. I'm also going to launch one more instance. 5 gigs. This time I'm going with 1B and I'll call it as additional 1B. Right now you see, guys, one volume is coming from availability zone 1A and the second volume is coming from availability zone 1B. Now let's say create volume. Now if I remove the filters, you can see on top here, right? Right, yes. So we got these two specific volumes, 5 gigabytes each, and they are currently available in 1B zone and also another one in 1A availability zone. Now wantedly what I'll do is, I'll select this 1B. I'll say attach the volume like how I did earlier. Now it says instances. Here also you can see. It clearly states the same thing. The instances to which the volume will be attached, only instances in the same zone as selected, the volumes are displayed. Meaning right now, my volume is in which zone? 1B zone, right? It is only showing me the instance which is there in 1B. We can't see our test 1A instance. Whereas I'll select the one which is there in 1A. I'm seeing like lots of instances. Reason because all these instances are currently running in 1A availability zone. So now I'll say, go ahead and attach this to test 1A. And you can see here, guys, so there is some kind of note given for you. So newer versions of Linux, they need the device to be renamed as XVDF. So here it says SDF, right? The new devices, they need to go with XVDF. So just you replace this one with whatever was given for you there. Now I'll say attach. Now you see, it says in use, meaning apart from root volume, now we are also having one more additional volume for our instance. So now you can't directly say it, guys. So now if I say df-h, we can't see any of that 5 GB storage. Reason because it's the same concept what you use in your laptops. Let's say whenever you purchase a new hard drive, right? First thing that you need to do is you need to format it. Then assign a drive later, then you can see that. That's the same concept happening here. So if I say list me the block devices, whatever the new one you created 5 GB, it is available. But what? This is not yet mounted. Meaning you can't see that as we are seeing the root volume here right now. So for this, what you need to do, you need to format this drive, then you start using it with your instance. Now in order to format it, which device we need to format? XVDF. Why? Because that's the new one that you created. So now what I'm going to do is sudo mkfs. This stands for make file system. So you are creating a file system of type ext4. That's the latest file system. On your device. So this particular command, what it basically does is it formats your particular drive that you recently created. It's just exactly same way like in your Windows, right click and format, right? The same option. Now if I format it, now it says your blocks have been written. So it has been, what do you say, formatted right now. Now you can start using this device. How am I going to use it is, I'm going to create one directory / my data. It's a new directory. Now our device is there and we got a directory. This is what like a logical entity. So in Linux, there is no C drive, D drive, E drive. So we directly have this directory called my data, right? Now I want to use this my data as a reference to my XVDF device. So for that, what I can do is sudo mount which device? This device. So I'm mapping it. So that particular hard drive, I'm going and mapping it to something called like my data. Now can we see that? Right. So now we can see that 5 GB storage which is there is available for you. Now whatever the operations you do in this location, which location? / my data. Any location you do it here. So this thing actually gets reflected where? In this volume. Did you get the point is? Okay, let me just show you now. What I'll do is, you see currently it says only 20 MB is utilized. I'm like, that's basically the formatted part there. Now what I'll do is I'll try to download some files here. Just a second. Now, I have some zip file list. Now where I want to download it is inside / my data. You see lost place font. That is something that you find when you format a pen drive or a hard drive. Right? Yes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm downloading some zip file from internet. Okay, wget command is not there. We'll install this wget. Wget is already installed. Okay, it's not having the full path. Right, yes. Now you can see that file is getting downloaded. Right. Yep. Now you see here, we downloaded that particular file. Now if I go ahead and look my storage, now you see, like earlier it was 20 MB, now like 170 MB. So it just keeps on taking the storage from this path. So now this location is different, which is your root drive. This is your root, guys, this one, which is your primary hard drive. All your OS related things, applications, installations, everything will happen over here. But any kind of additional data you are working with, you might go ahead and use this one. Maybe you have some backups, maybe you want to store your backups, or you have some kind of patches. So all those things you might go ahead and keep it within this location. Getting the point is? Okay, perfect. Now fine, we have this particular data here. Now, like I said, what do you say? If there is some other instance, right? This is test 1A instance. Similarly, I'll launch one more instance called test 1B. I'm going for 1B zone. And I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to just exactly repeat the same steps. Test 1B instance. Like this. So as we created the instance in 1B availability zone, if you look at volumes, is it test 1B? It's there in this particular zone. Now comes one confusion. And also I'll show you one more part. I'll launch another instance. This one is also going to be there in 1A availability zone. I will call it as test 1A. Its second instance. So altogether right now we have 3 different instances. Okay. So sometimes, guys, you see like we have like lots of servers, right? Sometimes you might get confusion. So you can use tags for that purpose. So what you can add additional tags later also. You can come to this particular part here. And what I'll do is I'll just add a couple of tags here. I'll say class is AWS. For this one also, I'll say class is AWS. Now I'll just filter them so that I can see any unwanted things. I'll go to this tag called class, and I want only AWS related servers. Right now we can see our 3 servers that we launched. A couple of instances in 1A availability zone and another one being in 1B availability zone. Okay. Okay. Now the first thing is, let's talk about B later. Now let's say this test 1A instance is there, which is the second one that we launched. Now I want the data which is there in this my data to be available in the second 1A instance. Are you getting the point? Is I don't want root volume. I want the additional data which was there. Why? Because even the second instance will also have its own root volume. I'm not bothered about it, but I need some patches. Like imagine right now, I showed you, right? Like this one, the 1A additional volume. This has data that is like what important. Let's imagine it's a security patch. So this security patch needs to be installed in the second instance also. Now in that scenario, what I should go ahead and attach this volume to the 1A instance of second. Right? You see right now, this is my instance. It has that patch. But now this patch is required even on this instance. Now the condition, like I said, one condition is volumes are always locked with availability zones. Wherever the availability zone that instance is launched, you can use only that part. So according to this logic, did the criteria match? Yes, both are in 1A. The additional instance and the second instance is also in 1A availability zone. But the problem here is, it's same thing like your laptops. You can attach one drive to one instance at a time. You have a pen drive with you, you insert it in laptop first laptop, but you can't simultaneously attach it to the second laptop. Same condition. But you got the same choice, like what? You unplug it from the device one, unmount it, then you mount it to the second laptop. The same concept. You got the point is? So you can't simultaneously do it. Let's see. This is the volume I need for the second instance, correct? It grayed out. Meaning we can't attach this to the second instance now. See, right now, if I go to my second instance, that's my second instance. Now I'll try to connect to this one. I'll check the same thing. Show me the block devices. As of now, we have only one partition, which is our root 8 GB. And if we say df-h also, we see the same thing. So there is no 5 GB drive available here. Now, like I said, now I can't even attach it. Now the only thing that you can do is go back to your first instance where the drive is mounted. Getting the point is? Now this is like exactly same thing that you do. So if it gets disconnected, let's reconnect. So our device is connected at the dev xvdf. Now this is like pen drive, like I said, right? So you need to first unmount it on the system level, then you need to unplug, then you need to plug, same concept. Sudo umount, meaning basically you're unmounting it. Which device? Before I unmount it, I want to show you one more option. We have our data, that zip file, correct? Now I unmounted it. It's like you plugged off the pen drive from your system. Now what you need to do is you get back to your volume. Then you say detach this volume. It's like physically removing the drive now. Just give it few seconds. Once it becomes available, then we can start using this. There you go. Now it is in the available state. Now what I'll do is attach this. Now we can see all the list of devices over here. We want it to be there in the second instance. And yes, we need to rename it to this particular device name. Right, now you see, it says in use. Right, now let's test. That's our second instance right there. Now you got your 5 GB drive, which has been just like now attached with your xvdf. Right, now the same concept is, now I need to start utilizing that data. Now here the thing is, you don't run that mkfs command once again. It's formatting. If you format, that entire data will be lost. So mkfs only one time. Mount, unmount, it's your choice how many times you're going in, attaching and detaching the storage. Got the point? Okay. Now what I'll do here is sudo make directory something like my data. I'm creating like same one logical directory, sudo mount a device called xvdf to my data. And now we can see the exact storage in this particular place. Getting the point, guys? Right. So now you can go ahead and start attaching the data like this. Now you might say, if we have 100 instances, imagine this wouldn't be a complex process. If I have 100 instances, I have some particular storage entity where I have all my security patches, which needs to be installed across all these 100 servers. Now I can't say attach to server number 1, install it, then detach, then go to server number 2, attach, then detach, go to server number 3. It's a very complicated process, right? But that's the reason why with EBS, this kind of functionality, like meaning what sharing the data is not an appropriate way to do the things. For that, AWS has given a separate solution. We have something called like EFS. So whenever we want to go with sharing kind of abilities, right, we have a separate technology for that, which we use in the future. Maybe in the next class, I'll show you how to work with something like EFS drives, right? But this is what you need to know. So here now the thing that you need to be aware of is when it comes to elastic block storage devices, these are must where a server is present. You can't have an EC2 server or database server without EBS volumes. Reason, OS is must. When you install, you remember you said sudo yum-y install httpd, sudo yum install git. Now all these things, they are getting updated within your root drives, right? Anything that is additional, like I said, patches or any data that needs to be shared. Now OS is not shareable, correct? You can't have one OS and say attach 100 devices to start working with it. It's not possible. So EBS, they always exist as independent entities. Got the point? Right. And the criteria that you need to take, if you are going with sharing abilities, will not be using EBS much, but we have a separate technology for that, which is EFS. Clear, is everyone? Now, the second thing I want to show. Now, I want this data to be available in this instance. I hope you got the logic. Earlier, they are in the same zone. So you are able to detach and attach to the instance and you are able to access the data, fine. But this time I'm connecting to the B instance, sorry. I'll select this B instance. I'll go ahead and I'll connect to the B instance now. Same. Now we don't have any device, right? The one which has like our some zip file. Now here, there is no way, even if you detach, do whatever you want, this volume, you can never attach it to that instance. Why? Because like the first condition is false. You should have the instance and the volume in the same availability zone, which does not match. So this is currently there in 1A, but the thing that we need is right now, this is there in 1B availability zone. Now in this scenario, what needs to be done? So we have some volume, right? 1B which I created, right? There is no way you can copy from 1A to 1B like that directly. You don't have any option like go ahead and do copy from 1A to 1B directly. Now, in this particular scenario, if you want to access the data across multiple data centers, I mean like multiple availability zones, you always need a concept called snapshotting. It does both the things. One is it backs up the data for you, and as well as it can be used as a, what you say, technique to get the data across different availability zones. Let's see both in action now. So this one I'm going to delete, guys. Why? Because it's an empty one. I'm not going to use it anyway. So I'll just go ahead and I'll delete that off. Now what I'll do, I think I showed you in the last class also, snapshots while working with AMIs. As of now, we don't have any snapshot over here. I'll select my this one, right? No, sorry, additional 1A. That's the one which we need right now. The data is present there. I'm saying create a snapshot. I'll say this is my patches. I'll just add some name called patches and I'll say create snapshot. Now, when I given the request for this snapshot, it's exactly what you did in the last session. When you said create AMI, it is taking the backup of root volume, correct? Now you have explicitly took the backup of additional volume. That's the only difference. Right? Okay, let's see right now. I'll go to the snapshot. Now you can see it is getting ready, that particular 5 GB patches. Now, let's see, once it gets completed, then we'll repeat those particular steps, right? Okay, in the meanwhile, let's see, we have some questions. Yeah, just a second, one by one, let's go. My data is just like a drive name. Yeah, Bhimesh, it's just a drive name. Santosh as snapshot, yeah, we just saw that. Just like in Windows, don't we have sharing concept? Yeah, Gopinath, like I said, we can use something called EFS next. We'll see that part. Chandrasekhar has a question. We can format only once when we create the volume. After once the format, we cannot do again for another instance. Yes, of course. If not, it will again be like what you say, wiped out. So format second time, if you do the MKFS command, it will completely remove the data. It will reformat the drive, right? Yes. No, S3 is not a file system. You'll see that in the future, Vishnu. Let's not discuss about those things. Once in a standard approach, we'll go step by step. Yep. Okay. Now coming to the point, you see, guys, now what happened? This patches is completed for us, right? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, wantedly, I'll do this thing, guys. Right now, this is attached to my instance called second instance, correct? So I'll just unmount it. I unmounted it off. I'll get back to my volumes. This is the one which we are using right now. I'm going to say detach this off. Right? And we know all our data is stored here, correct? I'm going to delete this off. Okay, just a second, let me confirm. Zero DB 615. 655, correct. Okay. Now I'm deleting this volume also, guys. Meaning what? Actually, our data should be gone. Right now, we don't have the existence of that 5 GB volume. That's where our data was actually stored. Now, what I can do is, I'll take this snapshot. I got an option to create a volume out of it. I'll say create the volume. I'll keep in both 1A and 1B, and we'll try to attach for both. Currently, I'm using 1A. I'll say patches in 1A. Exactly same way. I'm changing the zone to 1B in 1B. Now we have given the request to create 2 volumes out of this snapshot. Right, guys? Okay. Now let's go ahead and refresh. Right. Now we got both 5 GB drives, which are located across 2 different availability zones. Correct? Now I'll select my patch. I'll attach it to the instance which is there in 1A availability zone, like a test 1A second /dev xvdf. Same way, I'll select the B server, B patch, and attach it to test 1B instance, which is there in 1B availability zone. And I'll attach this to the second instance. Now, okay, this is our test 1B. Let's refresh this. We got the 5 GB drive. I'm going to create something like my data. Now we mounted it back. We got our file back. Now that too in the 1B. So this is the only technique that you can use, guys. But like I said, it's a complicated way. So you can back it up using the snapshot concept. But like I said, sharing abilities are a little bit, kind of complicated when it comes to EBS volumes. Now, yes, we can exactly see the same thing. Second instance. Yeah, let's go ahead and say sudo mount our device called xvdf with /my data. And you can see we got that particular data simultaneously now used across 1A and 1B. Got the point, guys? So these are the conditions that you need to remember when you work with EBS volumes, right? Okay. Let's unmute and see if we have any questions. Let's resolve them one by one. Yeah, just a second. We got a couple of questions here. At the time of instance, can we create volumes more than 8 GB? Yeah, Shrikant, it's your choice. So they have given you the option, right? So when you say launch instance, it's up to you. Just select. If you want 500 GB also, you can add 500 GB, no problem. It's up to you. But remember, in our free tier, it's only 30 GB. So if I want 100 GB, straight away I can go ahead and say 100 GB. It will give me 100 GB drive, right? Yes. How volume is different from DB instance? No, Vijay Lakshmi, like these are all servers. See, the concept is what? It's just a storage. See, right now this is storage, right? Now, if you install web server here, so web server will utilize that storage. If you install a database server, like let's imagine you installed MySQL here, then this one will also start accessing the storage only. End of the day, like I said, it's just in hard drive. So either it is database or web server or application server, they're all one and the same. The physical thing end of the day is EBS volume. These are all just softwares. Either you say database, web server, or you say like you're working with any app server. These are just softwares at the end of the day. Physical entity is your EBS drive behind the scenes. All right, hope you got the point. Yeah. Right, okay. And we got one more question here. For small data purpose, again, we are creating different volumes for these volumes. Can we take a snapshot, right? Yes, of course. Snapshot can be taken for anything, guys. Either it is root volume, additional volume, your choice. If it is in 1 GB or even if it is like 1 terabyte also, you can take the snapshot, no problem.
Sir, so this EBS volumes is, as you said, it's a zone.
Yeah, they're zone specific.
But if we are taking a snapshot and if we want to transfer it to another region or another AWS account, is that possible, sir?
Yeah, you can transfer it. You cannot directly transfer the volumes, but you can always get them to what you say, different regions or different accounts also. If you go to your snapshot option, you see right now you might have a requirement where currently our instances are there in North California. But imagine right now you need those same things somewhere in Canada Central. Now, if I go back to my Canada Central, imagine like there is some kind of instance which is already running here. As of now, I don't have, but let's imagine they are running here.
Okay.
Now, in that particular scenario, what we need to get the volume. So if you want to create a volume, we need snapshot. Or if needs to be, it needs to be existing. But as of now, we can see there are no volumes over here in the first place. The other way is I need to get a snapshot here. But I said already, every resource is region specific. Now what I can do is I'll go to this snapshot, copy it. Now you see here, it's asking me where the destination is. I want it to be copied to Canada Central. I'll say copy this. Now what happens? A copy of this is going to be available within Canada. Let's say here, right? Yes. So earlier we didn't had any snapshot. Now that particular 5 GB snapshot is coming up over here. Now same concept. Again, you go ahead, create a volume out of it and start utilizing it across the instances which are there in Canada Central. Right? Yes, you got that options.
Yeah, and how about the putting this snapshot in another account, sir? Another AWS account. If we have 2 accounts and we want this data in different AWS account, then
you can see here permissions. So by default, they're private. You can just say edit, add your account number and give the permission. So I hope you understood. Like this is everything inside AWS is private by default.
Okay.
If you want public, you can go with no problem.
Yeah, there is one more doubt, sir. So when you created a volume, you named it as XVDF, and when you are creating, I saw that there is a note there. So we have to keep the extensions from F to P.
Correct. Exactly. Yes.
So that is mandatory. Volumes.
It's basically a best practice. It's up to you. If you don't give that name, also it will work. But I'm just going with the best practices. Generally, that's the best practice. I just implemented it.
Okay. Thank you.
If you don't give XVDF, also it will work. No problem. But generally, as a best practice, I just modified that.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Right? Can the volumes be encrypted? Yeah, Vishwanath. Yes, like I just showed you, right? So at the time of launching the instance, you can encrypt, or after launching also, you can use a concept called snapshot and you can encrypt it. Right? So encryption is basically like what you say, it's on the network layer. So meaning we don't physically see any difference literally when we create that encrypt button. So basically it gets encrypted on your rest. So data gets over the network in a secure fashion. That's it. Right? Yes.
So can we use this user data as well for mounting it and unmounting it?
Of course, yes. So imagine right now you already had all the volumes that you go with, right? Yes. Now you can go ahead and make sure that you can run that mount command, MKFS command, whatever you want. Those commands can be executed there. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Right? Yes. Okay. So now this is all we can do with EBS. But yes, looks good, but it has its own limitations. Like what? It is zone specific. The first thing that the problem is you cannot use it across different zones. Right? And also one more problem is one EBS volume can simultaneously be used only across one instance, meaning it's 1-to-1 ratio. Right? Now these things might be little bit kind of uneasy when you work with high availability. I said, what is the concept of high availability? You'll have your instances across different zones. One will be there in 1A, another will be there in 1B. Maybe you have like this some 10 instances, 5 across different places. Now in that particular scenario, these things will not make or will not give you high availability for your apps. At that point of time, there has been given a separate technology to handle this kind of things. That is what we have something called like EFS. So in our next part, what we will do is whatever the problems we saw today with respect to EBS volumes, that we are going to resolve them with EFS. Got it? So we have altogether 3 different technologies. So I said, right? So once you got to understand all the 3 things, then we will see. So you got something called like elastic block storage, you got elastic file system, and you also got something called like S3. All are mandatory. It does not mean that you can use one and you can skip one. Based upon your usage criteria, you need to go with. Why? Because OS is supported only in this one. There is no concept of OS. You can't use OS in this one, nor in this one. So, like I said, EBS is damn sure for instances with servers. But imagine you have 1,000 instances. Maybe you're using some big data kind of things and you are like doing a lot of processing. And for all these 1,000 servers, you need a common storage. This is a solution. But thing is, this is highly priced. Right? Imagine that you have like lots of videos, PDF files, images, documents, static assets. Now, imagine that is like around 100, let's say 10 terabytes for time being. Lots of static assets. Yes, you can keep in EBS and EFS, but your price will skyrocket. In that scenario, all those static assets and data which does not need really any performance, I'll keep it inside S3. Reason, this is the cheapest. So like this, for every particular kind of work you're trying to go with, you have different technologies to go and work with. Clear is? That we'll see. Like once we see EFS, then we'll get into S3. Then you'll get the clarity how you can use all of them together or each one as a standalone entity. Getting the point? Yes? Right. So that part we'll go ahead and discuss tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll start with EFS. We'll compare it with EBS. Then next we'll go ahead with S3. Then we'll do comparison across all the 3. Then you will be good with respect to storage part from the AWS. All right. Okay. Right. Any further questions, guys? You can go ahead. Yes.
Ravi, what is the difference between EBS volume and instance volume?
Instance volume. So instance volumes are right now kind of duplicated. Right? So earlier they were present, but now, okay, let me just delete this part. Here, you have an option. You see, when you launch an instance, right, you can't even see them first thing. So it says EBS volumes. Everything is EBS, EBS, EBS. You had another kind of storage also called as instance storages. The problem with instance storage is when you stop the server or whenever you terminate the server, we had an option to uncheck the box, like what you can retain the volumes, right? Meaning what these are kind of, what you say, persistent storage, we call them. So elastic block storage, it comes under the technology called persistence. But we have something called like non-persistent devices. Those are called as instance volumes, meaning they're temporary. Once you stop the instance, like your RAM, they're going to be flushed out. Right? But right now they are like kind of not even visible, guys. So you have only one option to see them. Go to this AMIs. You see here, instance store. Now you see, and even not every particular AMI will also support instance store. There are only few things that are available. You can check them here. These are instance store. If you select these devices, there is no guarantee that data exists. So if that zone is out, your data is also out. Right? Yep.
So that is only meant for the running of the machine.
Correct. Yes. For a temporary part, let's say you don't want any kind of persistency, you can go for those instances. And it's not recommended to use that from AWS part. Right? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, guys?
Regarding the material, you said you will share it with us today.
I already shared it, guys. I'm not sure. Like you can just follow up with the digital link admin team. They said they already uploaded. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you just like follow with it. They said like they already uploaded 2 days back. Can you just find out with them once? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ravi.
Okay. All right. Okay. Chalo. Fine, guys. Then. Let's catch up tomorrow and we'll start looking into the EFS parts. Right?
Can we get any assignments daily? Because
Assignments, you can just follow up with these things. Maybe in the project part, you will see that, right? At the end of the project, you can get, what do you say, everything clubbed in one spot.
okay, okay, sir.
Thank you, Ravi.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Thank you, Ravi.